This isn't a grilled cheese I'm making. It's a melty masterpiece that deserves a kitchen worthy of greatness.
Looks like my porch is full of packages again. It also looks like my compulsive buying needs to change to compulsive saving.
As I sit here on this couch, I decided to make some changes, starting with this couch.
I'd love to be looking out my window at a beautiful backyard instead of a brick wall. Time for a new house.
Whatever your passion, U.S. Bank can help turn it into your next pursuit. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Good morning, Hoop Ballers, and welcome to another edition of Hoop Ball's DFS Today. I am your host, Santino Cacone, and I am here with my good buddy, Mike Apatria. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Much better after we finally got this thing up and running. A little technical difficulties. My computer, it's old as dirt, Santino. You know that. You come over, you break my stones about it all the time, about how old it is, and leaving tabs open and other things of that nature. So, after the setback tonight, it might be time to go shopping this weekend and start looking at a new one.
Yeah, I don't think you take care of it good. These 47 tabs open every time I try and look at it or use it. Just not good care there. I think you need to get a new one. I hate doing podcasts with you because they always freeze and we got to start over. Oh my God!
I think the tab thing's more of
the tab thing is true.
OCD related thing with you. This is the guy that when we were children, I used to go over your house and your cologne and deodorant all have to be facing in a certain direction. So, the OCD, it's there at you, Santino. I think that's where the tab thing comes from.
The OCD is there, yeah, but when you close your computer, you should not leave 77 tabs open all night. This is what happens. It turns into crap afterwards. But I digress. Now we started this thing over. Now we gotta get
fired up.
You got me fired up. Now I want to run through this thing quickly. Got through a game or two, and then all of a sudden it froze. So now I'm upset. But let's get through this game. We have a solid 6-game slate on the docket, a different starting time. So we're going to start all these games. The first game starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time instead of the usual 7. Then we have 2 games at 8:30 and only one late one at 10. So we're going to get most of this action in pretty early in the night, and then the late Portland Clipper game at 10 p.m. But before we jump in there, I want to read you something from our good guys over at MyBookie. I love these guys, and I play MyBookie pretty much daily. It's just awesome. But whether you're a first-time customer or have been playing MyBookie for years, there is no shortage of value to be found in the thousands of game lines, unique prop bets, and contests that they offer every week. Sign up or get reloaded today. Find an edge, make your bet, and get paid. They also boast a fully fledged casino platform giving you access to all the classic table, slot, and card games you'd expect to find at your local spot. And the best part is, at MyBookie, the doors never close, so you can continue to build your bankroll even after the stadium lights have gone out. Make the right play and sign up at MyBookie, and when you do, use promo code HOOPBALL, that's HOOPBALL, to get your deposit matched halfway, all the way up to $1,000. So the terms are pretty simple. If you put in 100, they'll match you with another 50 in your account. If you're already planning to bet this season, this is free betting money. It's winning season at MyBookie, guys, so come and join the fun and win some cash while you're at it. And remember to use the promo code HOOPBALL. So, Mike, I'm a little excited to get back on this slate that we were briefly talking about. But let's start with the first game on the docket. We have the Memphis Grizzlies at the Boston Celtics. We don't have an injury report for the Boston Celtics at the moment. I'm assuming we're doing this one late at night, so I'm assuming when they wake up, go through morning shoot around and whatnot, they'll see how everybody feels because they just played on Tuesday. But we do have an extensive injury list on the Grizzlies. There's no over/under again or no spread as of right now. But Jaren Jackson Jr., Ja Morant, we all saw what happened. That's not good. Jonte Porter, Killian Tilly, Xavier Tillman, Justice Winslow, don't know what's happened to him, and DeAnthony Melton are all out for different reasons. Melton should be back on Friday, assuming he clears the health and safety protocols. Again, we don't have anything for Boston. Let's start with the Grizzlies, man. Without Ja here or Melton, who probably is going to who at 3,700 if he was playing tonight, or that would be awesome for me. But without those two guys, without Jackson, where are you looking here?
Yeah, I mean, if Melton was playing, he'd be a stone cold lock at 3,700. He's the guy that we anticipate to be the best and biggest beneficiary to John Morant's injury once he's up to speed and goes through the protocols and everything. But for now, the obvious guy is Tyus Jones, 5,200. He'll come in, he'll draw that start. Tyus Jones, he's pretty good for DFS. He's pretty good for fantasy as far as being able to rack up steals, assists. He could score, he could chip in. He's good for 15 points, 16 points, 17 here and there. 5,200 though, that price tag, you're pretty much paying for what you're expecting to get, and it's also a tough matchup going against Boston. He's going to see a fair share of Marcus Smart, so I might just pass on Tyus Jones at this point. Let other people take it. I expect him to be fairly high owned on a 6-game slate. Try to get my exposure elsewhere in some other games. And the other guy would probably be Dylan Brooks at 6,200. He's just been chucking, 19 shot attempts in that game where Ja got hurt, 23 the game prior. Those shot attempts should keep touching and hovering around that 20 mark, especially with Ja out. He'll continue to be the highest usage guy on the team. Those are probably the two biggest guys. And then Kyle Anderson, he's just been playing so well this season. He'll continue to play well. He'll continue to be able to rebound, especially knowing that he's playing power forward. And then now he's going to have a little bit more ball handling responsibility as well. I know he's one of your guys, Santino. So I'll pass it over to you because I'm sure you want to say a couple more good things about him.
Yeah. So for me on the Grizzlies side, I am actually not looking at Tyus Jones at all. I just don't think he's that good. I think he's an all right player. He's going to get you a couple assists, couple rebounds, or a couple points, but he's not going to do too much to where I want ownership against this Celtics game. And I think like you mentioned, a lot of people are going to look, no Ja Morant. He's getting the start. Give me him. If he was more at 4,400 or so, I would like him. But even that 800 extra that I'm saying at 52, his current price tag, I'm just not too high on him. I don't see 30 points is probably where his ceiling kind of stands. I can't see him getting too much more than that, if that. So I'm going to leave him alone. The two people I'm looking at mostly here are, as you mentioned, Dylan Brooks, just because for shot attempt and shot volume alone, he's not been shooting. He's not the most efficient shooter of the bunch, but he's going to take enough shots to where it makes sense. And he's going to be handling the ball a little bit more, passing the ball and distributing it a little bit more. So I don't mind that tag. And Kyle Anderson, you mentioned him at 6K. He's also going to play a little bit more point forward here. He's been rebounding the ball pretty well without Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark coming off the bench. He's going to get more responsibility. I see another 15-plus shots from him, and I like the way he started off the season, very hot. So those are two guys that I'm looking at on this team, but no one really else. I guess we can. I'm sorry.
No, I said that's not very often me and you are on the same page. I have a feeling it's right off the rip, first team. It's gonna be a smooth night.
Yeah, let's hope for it. And then we're moving on to Boston, who's playing the second night of a back-to-back. The first night of the back-to-back, they beat the Pacers by 5 points. So we'll see how that turns out and who comes out of the game with little nicks and crannies, bumps and bruises there. One guy that we saw play that was kind of jumped up a little bit was Robert Williams, but he only played 11 minutes in that last game. Maybe he sees some more time here, but that was kind of not so great. And we also saw Tristan Thompson ramp up to nearly 30 minutes. He played 27 and he doubled. But where are you looking here? Or is it the same, go back to the same guys that we usually go back to?
Yeah, so to be honest, I mean, we this game, it worries me without Ja in general. The Celtics should and could just pound Memphis. With that being said, obviously there's some guys that we have to take into consideration. You talked about Tristan Thompson playing big minutes. That's great and all dandy and everything to see. It is a back-to-back at the same time. He was a guy that they were purposely limited coming in to this game, so they're finally, kind of letting leash loose a little bit. But I don't expect him to play 30 minutes in a back-to-back. So, looking at a guy like Robert Williams, you mentioned him, or a Daniel Tice might be a solid option. I'm not saying Tristan Thompson's necessarily going to sit, but those guys are probably all looking at roughly 18 or 15 to 20 minutes apiece. They're going to divvy them up. Brad Stevens has been saying some pretty good things recently about Robert Williams, but I'm not willing to just let all my chips lie on what Brad Stevens says to reporters. So primarily, with all that being said, I'll be looking at Tatum. I'll be looking at Brown. Both these guys, I think, are underpriced. They're in a fantastic matchup. The only thing that scares me is that Boston just pounds him into the ground.
Yeah, and you can never go wrong with Brown or Tatum, really. Always, when you look at this team, they are easily the top two dogs. No Kemba, no Hayward. We keep mentioning it, but it's true. One guy I want to get your thoughts on, because he did play 27 minutes last night, and he had a pretty good 10-5-5 game with a steal, and I think he's a pretty good player. If he gets this run consistently, I kind of like him. But how do you feel about Peyton Pritchard at 3,400?
Yeah, he's not a dude like I wouldn't call him like a head turner when he was like drafted or anything like that. But not somebody I expected to have like an immediate impact on the Celtics team. I mean, we've seen them even take, small steps with guys like Romeo Langford and some of their other guys coming up through, through the past few years that they drafted. But the kid's talented. There's no doubt about it. He has a role. He might end up, finding his way ahead of a couple of these guards in this rotation. I mean, he's pretty much been outplaying Jeff Teague since Jeff Teague has been there. Jeff Teague's pretty much been going off pedigree. 0 for 6 against Indiana, and then 0 for 5 in that Brooklyn game. I didn't manage to check to see what he completely shot again tonight. I'm going to assume it's not that great. If Peyton
2 for 7.
Yeah, exactly. If Pritchard was playing well and playing that much, I'm assuming that he ended up playing over him. So that's the thing. It's something to keep an eye on. If he keeps outplaying Teague, yeah, he's definitely going to be a household name soon to come that we're going to have to keep an eye on. But until then, these guys are going to still be chopping up those backup point guard minutes, and then Smart is just going to handle the bulk of it.
Yep, I agree. And until something changes at the guard, you got to leave him a little bit alone. I just wanted to get your thoughts on him because he's not a bad guy, and I think at some point, if he continues to outplay Jeff Teague, they just let him play.
He's not a bad guy. Yeah, no, he's a nice guy.
Nice guy, man. But we have this second game here. Let's go on over to Atlanta Hawks against the Brooklyn Nets, a surprising Atlanta Hawks team. They pretty much overloaded in the entire all offseason, got all new bodies, a ton of these new bodies out there, and they're 3-0 because of it and playing very well. And then the flip side, we have the Brooklyn Nets, who are just coming off of a loss to they lost to Charlotte with KD and Kyrie, and then they lost again after that without them. But they're going to be back and ready to play in this one. There is currently it's not too much on the injury report. We have Clint Capella is probable on this one. Danilo Gallinari is questionable. That's the big one. We still have Chris Dunn, Onyeka Okongwu, Tony Snell all out for what seems like going to be a little bit longer. Spencer Dinwiddie's out for the year now with that ACL. Jeff Green is playing, and Nicholas Claxton is out for the Brooklyn Nets side. But let's start with the away team in the Atlanta Hawks. Where are you looking here? Oh, and I forgot to say, we do have a spread for this one. It's the Nets are 7-point home favorites, and the over-under is a whopping 241. So who do you like in this Atlanta side? And are you looking at multiple people in this one?
So this is a weird scenario for me because generally I'm very high in Atlanta. I don't think I'm playing anybody from Atlanta, and it's kind of weird. John Collins is one guy that stands out to me as being underpriced, but the minutes have been down. He's been playing poor so far, and obviously I expect him to snap out of that. He's a very talented young player, but I just outside of shots on him, just hoping for that bounce back, I don't see myself really landing on anybody. If Cam Reddish, maybe if you need some value, and you're down there at 4,400, he has guard and forward eligibility. But yeah, for the most part, I'm not playing anybody. I mean, Trae Young's great and all, but there's just other point guard options that are cheaper that I think are just much more viable.
Oh, okay. I didn't expect you to say nobody. For me, I think this is going to be a shootout, and we see all these guys. Everybody priced 5K and under, kind of, except for Collins, Young, and Capella. I'm not sure. I want to see. Capella looked great in his limited minutes, but I think he's just going to again get limited minutes. I can't trust that at 6K. He could still put up near value at that, but if he's not going to play 33 minutes, which I don't expect, I can't look at him. Gallinari might not play. Everybody else is kind of the guessing game after Collins and Trae Young. But I'm looking here and I'm seeing I kind of like me some DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish. I usually go back to Cam Reddish too. But it is a crapshoot here, and I don't mind playing any of these guys, but just know that one of them is going to have a very good game at least, but it's kind of a crapshoot on which one's going to get the hot hand and get the extra run in this.
I actually take that back. The more I look at this, I think I would take Bogdanovich out of the group in this one. I think he fits that role. I could see him having some like really good second unit usage. If the Hawks keep this close, they're going to have to probably do that. It's going to be tough for Trae Young to compete against just basically doing the majority of the scoring against Kyrie and Kevin Durant in the same in the same stretch. So I like Bogdanovich. He's also just underpriced on DK. 4,800 is too cheap for a guy that the lowest score this season so far is 23.25, 29, and then 34. That's a guy that should probably be priced right around 54, 5,500. So we're getting a discount, as well as like you said, the shootout. I like Trae Young. I just don't want to pay that price tag. That's the thing. It's a fair price tag, but we're going to get to a guy on the other side of the ball where he's cheaper, and I think he's in just as good, if not better, spot.
Yeah, and let's get on to the other side of the ball. We have the Brooklyn Nets, and we have Kyrie and KD playing. We have Karis LeVert, and we have no Spencer Dinwiddie. He wasn't anything spectacular this year, but that's a lot of ball handling duties to go around, more responsibility to go around to these three big guys, and they're all fair priced here. We have KD at only 84, under 9K. We have Kyrie also under 9K, LeVert under 7. But who you like the most out of these three guys?
Yeah, you could just load up on Kyrie. You could load up on KD. Both these guys are criminally priced right now. I mean, KD, you look at it, the guy's 8,400. I don't think there's ever really been a time where Kevin Durant was 8,400 in DFS, and I get it. Achilles, all this. He's played 36 and 33 minutes over the last two games. I get it. He rested that last one. He should be good to go. I don't mind paying that price tag. And then Kyrie Irving, same thing, 8,900. He's too good of a price on that. He's in the best matchup he could be, up-pace game. Brooklyn is also an up-tempo team. Like you said, there should be a shootout. Trae Young plays little to no defense. So I expect these two guys to go buck wild. I'll probably pass on LeVert just because I'm going to play these two guys in a fair share of my lineups. And then, LeVert 6,900. We don't mind paying that when these two guys are out. I'll pass when they're in there. And that's probably it. I'm not going to go back to the well on any of those other value plays that we were kind of gambling on the other night.
Yeah, I'm all over Kyrie and KD in this one. Looking at KD lately, or this so far, he hasn't been the big time rebounder and shot blocker that he has been known to do. I haven't seen the 7-8 rebound type of games yet. He's still getting his feet wet. He's still getting back into the groove of things. But on the offensive side of things, looks like nothing has ever changed. This dude has as smooth a jumper as I've ever seen him. So I am definitely in on him too at 84. And I think Kyrie as of right now, has a little bit higher of a ceiling until we see KD give a little bit more on the rebounding on the glass. So I don't mind playing both of these in the same lineup. These two guys are against Atlanta are in awesome spots. And you mentioned Kyrie against Trae Young. Always a great matchup when you're going against Trae Young. Even better when you're one of the best scorers in the league like Kyrie. But yeah, I'm not really looking too much at anybody else. Unless somebody is out, then maybe I'll think about it. But as of right now, it's those two guys for me as well. But let's jump on to the Milwaukee side. The next game, which is a rematch of last night, Milwaukee at Miami Heat. There's currently no spread. I don't think we're going to get a spread for a little bit. On the injury report, we don't have anything because we'll see what happens tomorrow. I would assume Jimmy Butler is going to be, at the very least, questionable again for this one. But let's just say that this game ended last night. Before everything comes out, we'll see what happens. A 144-97 massive whopping the Milwaukee Bucks gave to the Miami Heat on the road. And again, it's a rematch on the road. Same thing. We're at Miami, but this was a massacre. It was pretty much what we saw the Clippers get handed to them a couple nights ago. So going back to that, we saw Giannis didn't even do much. He scored in single digits. When is the last time you ever said that? 9 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, 3 steals, 24 minutes. We did have that Drew Holiday game that I was trying to pinpoint. We had some Dante DiVincenzo scored 17. Chris Middleton scored 25, 14 for Brook Lopez. 3 people on the bench scored double digits. They just mollywopped these guys. And nobody really outside Tyler Hero did too much for the Heat. My question to you, buddy, is can you see a repeat performance? And obviously not to this extent, but can you see another 15, 20-point win? Or do you think it's going to be a much more competitive game?
Yeah, that's probably the question everyone's. I mean, the Bucks set the NBA record for the most three-pointers in a game tonight. I believe it was 29. So they were also, not only were the Heat, playing terrible and hobbled, but the Bucks were on fire. They were lights out. So it was both things. So if Butler sits, it's going to be really hard for me to fully invest in this game or have a ton of interest in outside of ancillary pieces. Your Giannis's and looking at, Bam, those two guys I wouldn't pay up for if Butler sits. If Butler plays, I expect him to kind of be limited. We saw it in the last one where he played and he was questionable for the whole day. He played 27 minutes, I believe, in that game. So he still didn't play a full complement of minutes, sat out the following game. So this is something that's clearly bothering him. If they didn't get blown out by 50-something, I would think that he would sit. But something tells me that Jimmy Butler seeing his team just lose by 50 makes him want to play a little bit more on a back-to-back. So it's something to watch. If Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic were the two guys that I anticipate to get the most usage and the two guys I would normally target in a matchup that I think would stay close. But again, it just worries me a little bit. And on the Milwaukee side, I'm probably not targeting anyone outside of maybe a Holiday at 6,400 just because I think that's criminally underpriced.
Yeah, and same thing I said last night. Drew Holiday at 6,400 is just super cheap, and I love that price tag. So I still love that price tag. And I like Dante DiVincenzo at 49 again. He actually went down a couple $100 in this one. So both those guys are still in play for me. If you wanted to go to Chris Middleton at 74, this is a matchup that suits him. Even in a blowout that we saw, he still put up 25, 4, and 5 with 2 steals. So this is a good matchup for him, especially if Jimmy Butler doesn't play. We know Bam is going to be on Giannis, and Giannis has struggled in that matchup in the last calendar year. So those are the 3 guys I'm looking at on this squad. And obviously, if it turns into a massive blowout like this again, we can expect people lower tier guys doing something, but I can't imagine it's that bad again. But we'll look on the other side of the ball. Again, I'm not looking at Bam in this matchup. Giannis is also a very good defender. Whether Jimmy Butler plays or not, I'm not going to be looking at him in this matchup. I don't think, like you mentioned, he's going to play full complement of minutes. Goran Dragic is pretty solid in this one, but they have a guy named Drew Holiday now that I mentioned last night. And when he is on the floor, he is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, very underrated. And I think he puts a lot of time, especially if Butler doesn't play. A lot of a lot of his on-ball duty is going to be against Goran Dragic. So the one guy I'm looking at again in this matchup is Tyler Hero. I think he is the best matchup play for here. He doesn't get the best defender on the team. DiVincenzo's pretty good, but he's not Drew Holiday. So if Jimmy Butler doesn't play, Tyler Hero gets more usage. So does Dragic, but I like Hero slightly more, knowing that Drew Holiday is probably going to stick to Dragic. Or they see that Hero was the best player on the court tonight for the Heat. Maybe they switch that up, and then maybe my mind changes a little bit.
Fair enough. And yeah, listen, if Miami is missing Butler and they keep this game close, it's going to be because of their 3-point shooting. They're going to need Duncan Robinson to be on. They're going to need Dragic to be on, and they're going to need Hero to be on. They're going to need all 3 of these guys. So if you're game scripting this as though this game is going to be competitive, not necessarily a double-digit loss or anything like that, I'm not saying it needs to be a 50-point blowout game script, but if your game script is to be competitive, you're going to want one of those guys for sure. They're going to need them heavily. There's no chance that they stay in this game without the scoring from those 3 guys.
Even if it's a blowout, though, if it's a blowout, it favors Hero more than it does Dragic, because Dragic's not going to be playing at all in a blowout.
Absolutely.
Hero, they'll throw him out there. The guy's young. He's a second-year guy. He can get run. He's not going to get tired, or they don't need to savor every moment from him. But Dragic is a guy, if it turns into a blowout. Same with Butler if he plays, and even Bam somewhat. Iguodala, people like that, older people. You're not going to see them play in a blowout. But Hero will be. So
you're telling me I won't see Haslam?
You might not see Haslam, even if it's a close game. But let's get to this next game. And before I do that, guys, I want to wish everybody, we're 2 days away, Happy New Year's from our sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and is here to help have clean balls in the new year. Ring in the new year with the right tools for the job. Happy 2021. Spoiler alert, hairy nuts are gross, guys. Step into the new year with the tree standing taller and shave your boys. Manscaped is here to give you a New Year's resolution that you'll actually want to keep. The Perfect Package 3.0 is the below-the-waist grooming package you need to start off the year strong. Come out of quarantine with clean balls thanks to the Lawnmower 3.0. This waterproof and skin-safe trimmer will reduce nicks to your two best friends. The third-generation trimmer even has a light to shine, a light to the promised land 2021 looks to be. We also have the Crop Preserver, some body deodorant or ball deodorant, some good stuff in here. So start the new year fresh with Tasties from Manscaped. And for 20%, get 20% off and free shipping with the code HoopBall20. That's HOOP20. Again, that's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the promo code HoopBall20. New Year's, new balls. All right, let's get into this next game. I love those guys from Manscaped. Those things are hilarious. Well, let's get on to this next one. We have the Charlotte Hornets coming off a surprising big victory, going up against the Dallas Mavericks, also coming off of a massive victory. But we're traveling to Dallas in this one, so a little bit different. And the spread on this one is 11.5 with the over/under at 222. So we're going to start. We have on the Charlotte side, we have Cody Zeller as out. He's not going to be playing for a little bit. And Dallas has Josh Richardson now questionable. He got downgraded earlier yesterday. And Kristaps Porzingis is out for this one. So let's start on Charlotte. Where are you looking here? This is kind of a solid matchup all around for these guys. Pretty wing heavy over here. So where are you looking at?
There's two guys I'm looking at in Charlotte. I think they're both in fantastic spots. I think they're both very underpriced. It's the obvious ones, Gordon Hayward, 7,200. This guy just continues to outperform his draft price, no matter where he's at right now at DK. They just can't get the algorithm right. He should be at least 8K. He is Gordon Hayward of Utah at this point. He's got the ball in his hands. He's looking at 20-plus points every single night. He's looking at 6+ rebounds. He'll chip in a defensive stat here and there. And for that, 7,200 just feels slightly too cheap. So I do have some interest in Hayward, and the other guy's PJ Washington. Past two games, Washington, and just in general, towards the end of last season and then the start of this season, has just looked phenomenal. The past two, though, we're talking 39, 40 DK points in those. With Cody Zeller with his hand broken, being out, they're not going to just play Bismack continuously at center 35 minutes. They're sliding Washington over, and he's getting it. He had 12 rebounds in that last game. So he's not a guy that I mind looking at. 5,400, I think that's a great price tag. I expect him to draw some fair ownership at that price tag, though, too. But very, very good play.
Who are you texting?
My therapist.
You text with your therapist?
Text, video chat, call. Yep.
That sounds too easy. How did you find her?
I just went to betterhelp.com/save. She's a licensed therapist and it's all online. I connect when it's convenient for me and don't waste time driving anywhere. Plus, it's affordable.
I wonder if I should try it.
It's great to talk to someone in confidence. She's helped me sort out quite a few things. And right now you save 10% off the first month when you go through betterhelp.com/save.
betterhelp.com/save. Got it.
Did you know you could shop around for prescription prices? With GoodRx, you can find free coupons at over 70,000 pharmacies and save up to 80%. It's that easy. But don't just take my word for it. Dr. Adam says, I've been telling all my patients about GoodRx. Jacqueline says, my medication was $65 without insurance, but I paid $25. Aubriana says, you don't have to pay full price to live your best life. Couldn't have said it better myself. GoodRx is 100% free. Download the GoodRx app today and start saving. GoodRx is not insurance.
Yeah, and I like how you started with Gordon Hayward. You pretty much listened to the podcast yesterday, and you just confirmed it. Thank you, buddy, because you stole exactly what I said and exactly how I said it. And I like it, that Gordon Hayward should be in the mid 8K. Until he gets there, he's extremely good value, and he looks like he's in Utah because he is the guy on this team. I know Terry Rozier is starting off hot, but he's not the guy. But yes, I will digress. I still like Gordon. Anytime Gordon Hayward's under 8K, he's in play for me because he's value at that price tag, price, whatever the heck I was trying to say. And yeah, I like PJ Washington too, 5,400. It seems like his price tag is not moved yet, and he's been playing pretty well each time. The last 2 games, he has 39 and 40 DK points. So I would have expected it to creep to 59, maybe closer, 57, 61 in that type of range, but it's not moving. It was 54 last game, 5K the game before that, and it's just not moving. So until they want to move that price tag, I will take that value as well. I think those are the 2 best plays on the slate, and not on the slate, I should say, on this team, and the 2 biggest values. Everybody else is kind of like Devontae Graham could go 2 of 10 tomorrow, 2 of 12. Terry Rozier, I just don't believe in him. And everybody else here is questionable on how much time they're going to play.
Yep.
Let's go on to Dallas. We have the big guy, Luka Doncic, and everybody else. And there might not even be any Jay Rich. So it's where does that usage go? Does it all go to Luka Doncic, or are you going to give a look to Tim Hardaway Jr., who's only 5,800, and some of these other guys like DFS in DFS?
Nah, so it's probably just going to be Luka for me for the most part. I love Luka. Obviously, that big Luka game, it's on the horizon. It's coming. That 60 DK point game. This is the matchup. It could easily happen. I'm looking up and down the line at this Charlotte team. I don't understand who they have to play defense on Luka. They don't really have a capable guy that could do that. So he should just be able to have his way with him. The other guy that I think steps in as a value option would be a guy like Trey Burke. He's going to have to take a little bit of the usage bump if Richardson's out. Hardaway's probably still going to be taking his same amount of shot attempts. Hardaway's been doing Hardaway. He's still going to shoot. In the past few games, he's averaged double-digit shot attempts in all of them, 14, 12, and 10. So that's going to continue. Maybe it gets 1 or 2 more. But Burke is the other guy I expect. Maybe he doesn't necessarily start, but he should find himself playing somewhere in the mid-20s minutes, and I wouldn't be shocked if he's touching double-digit shot attempts.
Yeah, and I think Luka is prime Luka in this spot. I'm looking at the other people around him. I like him a little bit more than LeBron James, who's questionable right now. Then you have Giannis, who I mentioned earlier. I don't even like him the most on his team at that price. So I think if you're going to spend up, it should be Luka. We're looking at Damian Lillard as a revenge game because he hates the Clippers now. But he's starting off a little bit slower than normal. So I think at some point Luka's putting up that massive triple-double, and it might be in this matchup. So I'm looking at him hoard, especially without possibly Josh Richardson. And everybody else, I need to see a little bit more. I want to make sure Josh is out, and then maybe I'll give a little more consideration to a couple people, seeing what they do with the starting lineup in that one. But for me, it's mainly Luka on this team, and then I'll figure it out tomorrow when we get starting lineup and an injury report. All right, man, let's go on to this next game. We have the Los Angeles Lakers at the San Antonio Spurs, the battle of the early 2000s. And we have a spread on this one. The Lakers are 4.5-point road favorites, and the over-under is 233. So let's look at we have Alex Caruso is out for this one for health and safety protocols. Anthony Davis will play. LeBron James is questionable. Derek White has been ruled out for this one. He should be back soon. And Quandre Witherspoon is out for this one as well. Let's start on the Lakers. I hear you just banging away out there. You're just getting ready to talk about the Lakers, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. If LeBron sits, it's Schroeder for me, 6,200. I think a lot of people immediately go to Davis, and rightfully so. We just have so many priced up guys that I like. And if LeBron sits, that just means I get those guys at a lower ownership, which I'm perfectly fine with. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to jump on to Davis, although he would be a fantastic play. So I'm going to be looking at Schroeder, though, either way. He's a good play if LeBron plays. He's an even better play if he sits. Another guy you can look at if LeBron James does sit would probably be a guy like, Taylor Horton-Tucker if you need a value play. And then your boy Marc Gasol has been playing well as well. So 4,100 if you need a dumpster dive center play. The past few games, he's kind of stepped up more than the beginning of the season where he was kind of just a shell of his former self. We thought he was washed. But he can get up in any of the games that we see one of these two big guys sits. He's, has a little bit more prominent role, especially if LeBron James sits. We can kind of see him facilitate slightly more. But it's mostly just going to be Schroeder for me.
Yeah, and I think I like Schroeder here as well at 62. That's a pretty good price tag. If LeBron James sits, I would like some Montrezl Harrell about seeing him at 7K, and he's priced near only 200 less than a guy we just talked about in Gordon Hayward. I'm just not sure what they're doing with that algorithm there, but I can't play him there if I see Gordon Hayward at the same price tag in a better matchup. So yeah, it depends on the availability of LeBron James. But if he's out, then a lot of those shot attempts go to Dennis Schroeder and Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis looks like he's kind of taking it into the season, just getting there, getting himself back into shape, getting his legs under him, getting back into the flow of things after that championship run. So until I see him being the Anthony Davis that we all know and love, then I think they're trying to incorporate these new guys and Harrell and Schroeder and letting Kyle Kuzma, who just signed his contract, do his thing. Let Marc Gasol get a little bit more up to speed. So for me, yeah, I think on this side, it's Schroeder if LeBron James doesn't play, and I'm looking mainly at him. If you played Anthony Davis, can't ever fault you because he is Anthony Davis, or LeBron James if he plays. But I want to see them all gel together, and I'll probably be targeting them heavily after towards the mid-January. That's when I think they're going to start ramping things up.
Yeah, and hopefully Anthony Davis, he's still on the hunt for his first block this season. 3 games, no blocks.
Yeah, so it's just something that they're going to start ramping up very soon, but I don't think it's going to be game 4 into the season. But let's go on to this San Antonio Spurs side. We have nobody in the 7K range. Everybody is DeMar DeRozan, 69K is the highest guy on the team for them, or the highest guy on this team price wise. So who are you looking here, and do you like the matchup?
Yeah, so there's one guy that I've been targeting, I think, since the start of the season, and there's no reason to stop now, and it's DeJounte Murray, 6,100. I love targeting point guards going against the Lakers. He's been playing right around 30 minutes every single night. No Derek White. He's been the primary facilitator outside of DeMar DeRozan when he handles the ball a little bit. He's just a guy that could stuff the stat sheet. He triple-doubled against Toronto. First game of the season, opening night, a couple rebounds and 1 assist off of a 20-point triple-double. This guy can just stuff it. He can get the steals. He's a great defender. So at 6,100, push comes to shove, I think he's a better player than Schroeder. If LeBron sits, that's a different story. Then we actually have to look at it. But he's a guy that we wouldn't shock me if he touches 35 and 40 points on a regular, as long as Derek White's out. And I think this is just way too cheap. And then DeRozan at 69. Enough could be said, but I just think that Murray play, $800 cheaper. I think a lot of people, when they see DeRozan at 69, that's going to stand off the page. Maybe Murray kind of gets pushed to the side. Those are the 2 guys I'm looking at. Really into Murray tonight, though.
Yeah, I like DeRozan a little bit more there. Murray's not a bad play either, but everybody else I'm looking at the squad, it's not something that's jumping off the page to me. I really like Keldon Johnson. I like this guy, but not this matchup. Lonnie Walker at 44, sometimes you can play him. There's just not anything that is too consistent for me, but I know DeRozan and Murray are going to be there. If Keldon Johnson wasn't 400 less than Murray, and if he was back at what he was earlier a little bit, closer to 5K, even under that, I would give him more consideration. But to me, DeRozan I like the most on this team, and then Murray followed that, and everybody else, if I have to, I can look there. If I'm around 5K and I have to, maybe I'll go Johnson, but I'm not really actively targeting any of these guys as well. All right, man, before we get into this last game, I need to quickly pause the show for an announcement, and it's a fun one. It's free stuff, and everybody loves free stuff. What's that stuff, you ask? It's the Bruise Letter. Oh, yes, back and fresh for the 2020-2021 NBA season. Our founder, Aaron Bruski, is writing an email newsletter filled with his most intimate fantasy nuggets. It's exclusive content you cannot find anywhere else, too. It's not on the website. It's not on any podcast. It's not on social media. It's only in the email newsletter, and you can sign up to get it for free. Just go to bit.ly/BruiseLetter2021 and sign up in 10 seconds. Again, the site is bit.ly/BruiseLetter2021. Aaron Bruski, straight to your inbox, guys. Enjoy. Also, fantasy draft season is over, and you, Bruski 151, you're weighted a hell of a team. But the season has just begun. The Fantasy Pass is still the best deal in the industry at just $4.99 per month. And now that we're back into the regular season, there's zero commitment. Sign up for 1 month for $5. If you don't like it, you can cancel. We know you'll love it, though, but as always, nice option to have. The Fantasy Pass is everything you'll need to dominate all year. Updated projections, news for fantasy appraisal tools, schedule and streaming charts, pickup drops, all that cool stuff. And our newest and coolest feature of them all, the Hoopball Discord server, where you can all hang out with the Hoopball pros around the clock and get one-on-one help with your team. So please do check it out. Head to hoopball-.com and click on the Fantasy Pass ad just below the main media wall. And if all you want is the DFS side of that pass, for $1.99 you get everything that we offer with our articles and everything on the Discord as well. And only $1.99 a month. So if that's something you're into, that's awesome as well. But now let's get back to this main slate. We have one last game to talk about, my friend, and it is the only game at 10 o'clock, the one solo late game. So after you played all the first 5 games early and you put all your you have nobody left in this last game, you're going to see people climbing back up the scoreboard. But we have the Portland Trail Blazers against the Los Angeles Clippers. Since the Clippers played last night, we don't have a full-on spread for this one. We don't know if Kawhi Leonard will play. He was very close to playing today, they said. He was questionable, so he might be playing this one since it's the second half of the back-to-back. I would put him more as in than out on the 50-50 scale. But on the injury report at the moment, unless the Clippers wake up with some injuries in the morning, we have Gary Trent Jr. coming off his heater of a game. He is questionable with a right calf strain. Then we have Nasir Little and Zach Collins just out still, health and safety protocols and not with the team. Let's start with this Blazers team who are on the road for this one. Can you play Lillard at 10K knowing that he hates the Clippers and what they did to him when he missed a couple free throws last year? Or are you looking at other people here? And without Gary Trent Jr., possibly, who you think gets that usage there?
Yeah, so this is the predicament of the night. We have a ton of price type guys to spend on. There's 3 guys that I have as my top expensive options on this slate. It's Luka Doncic, it's Kyrie Irving, and it's Damian Lillard. I want 2 out of these 3 guys in just about every one of my lineups. And it's tough to get Lillard and Doncic in there. It's easier to get Kyrie because he's much cheaper. So we're going to have to see how this pans out. I love the narrative of this one. Lillard is a guy that is a narrative-driven player. When he hates somebody, he's going to go at them. He has that fire. He has that intensity. And it's not like he's been playing bad. I know you said he's off to a slow start, but he's got 30 points over the last 2 games. So maybe it's not prime Lillard, but, prime Lillard's still getting buckets, 30 a game. So if he does heat up and if he chooses to pick at this one, sky's the limit for Damian Lillard. So, yes, he's absolutely a fantastic play. I prefer to play him. I probably won't get any CJ McCollum. I'll probably just stick with that. I love Nurkic in this matchup. I don't love his minutes recently. That has me a little bit worried. And then the only other guy I'm really expecting to kind of, maybe step up a little bit would be a guy like Derrick Jones Jr., 3,600. He's a good value play just because he's getting the minutes. Not a great point per minute guy, but anytime you're playing 36 minutes on the court, you can find your way into the value. He shot 1 of 9 in that last one. Eventually, the shot's going to fall for him. He's going to get a couple steals, transition dunks, all those good stuff that comes with Derrick Jones Jr. And I pretty much can even say all that same thing can be said with Robert Covington. This guy's got to break out of his slump as well. These 2 guys are due for bounce-back games eventually, and they're both kind of underpriced.
Yeah, and I always prefer Lillard. I know he's more expensive, but I just never really want to play CJ McCollum. I know he's a very good player, and I like him on court, but in fantasy-wise, there's just something about him that I just never want to fully get on, and then sometimes I find myself falling into him, and I'm like, I don't feel great about it, but he has his big games. In the last 2 games, he's put up 66 and 50 points respectively, so he definitely has the upside, and he's hot right now, so I don't mind, or I won't hate on it, but I would rather look Lillard anytime and pay up that extra one. And it is a game where he just doesn't like this other team. There are people he doesn't like, but he especially doesn't like this team. And I think he wants to just crap on, put some dookie on Patrick Beverly, who I think stinks. I just had to get that one out there too. But yeah, I also like Nurkic in this matchup at 67. That's a pretty solid price tag. We don't often see this guy under 7K, so that's some value. He's another guy who's not been playing particularly great, but he at under 7K, there's still value, very much value to be had there. I like how you mentioned Jones Jr. and Covington. If Gary Trent Jr. doesn't play, that's extra minutes on the wings for these 2 guys, so that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And even Rodney Hood should get some extra minutes in there at minimum. if Gary Trent Jr. doesn't play. If he does, takes the upside of those guys out just a little bit because he's going to get his 20 or so minutes. And if he's on fire like he was last game, then he's going to he's going to stay on the floor more. But knowing that you have George and Kawhi Leonard on the opposite side, one of these guys is going to get him. Probably Kawhi is going to be on Covington. So I think he's a little lower on me than the other guys. But at 4,700, that's just value to be had there. But let's go on to the Clipper side here. We mentioned Kawhi Leonard was out last night, but I'm thinking he's closer to be playing this one than he isn't. So knowing that, we also have Marcus Morris who didn't play. I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow. They're not going to send that until later, but he has been practicing lately. Maybe they both return, and if they both return, how do you think this shakes out for the rotation?
Yeah, I mean, if they both return, we see Kennard go back to the bench, and then he's pretty much useless. He's pretty much useless anyway. Even when he starts, he's very unreliable. I just got burned by him earlier, so I didn't like that. Actually lost me our year-long fantasy league too, Sonny. That 1 week, not happy. Nonetheless, there's one person I'm really looking at this team. I already named all the high price guys. I don't mind Kawhi Leonard, Paul George at their price tag. Very similar to kind of that 80 LeBron thing that we said before. These guys are always in play. They're top 10 players in the league. You can't really deny their talent. It can go off on any given night. But the main guy, if I'm looking at somebody, it's probably going to be Zubac. A little off the radar, kind of beaten path kind of thing. But at this point, Ibaka and Zubac, they're kind of chopping up the minutes every other night. And this seems like more of a Zubac type matchup. I mean, going against a guy like Nurkic, a big body guy, a backup canner, it just makes more sense. Zubac being the 7-footer, being the taller guy, the bigger guy, I expect him to play right around 20 to 22 minutes. And he's a pretty solid point per minute guy. So it wouldn't surprise me if we get one of those double type games out of him. But, the more I look at the price tag at 51, it feels like, even if we get that double, is he paying that off? I might just have to pass on a lot of these guys. It's just, I don't, push comes to shove, I might just have my exposure on that Portland side of the ball if I'm looking to get some late game action.
Hey, buddy, you said
I just gave a whole rant and took it all back, man. I like Zubac in this matchup, and I'm looking. I see that price tag, and I'm like, I can't. I don't know if I can pay that though. That's tough.
Yeah, I don't like too many of the price tags here, and I was giggling because you sound like you have the sniffles. You sound like the guy Pigpen from the Snoopy comics. I don't know. I don't know if you remember him. The dude is
that the guy with the blanket that's walking around the dirt cloud follow him?
Yeah, he does have the dirt cloud followed him.
And it's called the Peanuts Gang, you child.
Peanuts. No, he's in Snoopy
comics. Peanuts.
Yeah, you sound like you have the sniffles, and he isn't Snoopy. I'm just letting you know. But that's how you sounded, and I couldn't stop laughing. You sounded like it. And then you did do the Zubac thing, and then you saw that, and you thought about it. And at 5.1K, I think there's better value there. I think we just mentioned PJ Washington was 5.4. Let me double check. Yeah, I think that he's a lot safer there as well. A lot of these guys, like Lou Williams, is not too bad, but at 5.2, also wouldn't want him there. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are the two top dogs on this team, and I think Paul George plays a lot better when Kawhi Leonard is there. He's playing better off of him. Kawhi's getting a lot of attention. Paul George gets to do his thing. But they are 85 and 9,300, and I think there's some solid options up there as well. I think I usually lean down to Paul George, but they're only 800 difference here. So I would lean closer to Kawhi Leonard, assuming that he's ready to go and play his full allotment of minutes. I know he just had stitches in his mouth. If I get the sense that there's no restrictions on him and he's ready to go for 800 more in this environment, I like Kawhi Leonard a bit more than Paul George.
And the one net positive we have to think about Kawhi Leonard, if there's any player that we want to have stitches in their mouth, it's Kawhi Leonard. The guy doesn't smile. These things aren't breaking. They should be intact. It's the one player I feel like someone out there, please tell me if you laughed at that, tweet it at me so I can feel better about myself.
Yes, please do. And Mike will feel really good about himself for that one. That was a quick hitter there. I liked it. All right, buddy. But I think we did it for this 6-game slate. We went pretty decently, efficiently. Hopefully, might have bricked some shots towards the end there, but I think we did an all right job. Anything you want to say before we tell these good viewers good night?
Yeah, so I mean, you guys heard me say I want to get a lot of studs in here. My one key to this slate, I would say, is don't force it. It doesn't look like we have a lot of bottom of the barrel value. We talked about a few guys that we could use. If it opens up and it's there for us, grab it. Sure, absolutely. But make sure you feel comfortable about every spot in your lineup, and that you're not taking too many chances. I feel like we have a lot of underpriced good guys on this lineup, so it may be safe and fair and balanced is the way to go. But just make sure you guys tinker and don't force in too many studs if you don't have it.
Got a question. Just one final one here.
Absolutely.
Who's Money Mike's favorite play of the night? I just had to throw it to you. I'll put you on the spot. Didn't even give you a heads up here. And now I'm rambling to give you a couple seconds here to think about it if you didn't have it already, thought of it. So I will give you a second more. Oh, he got it. Okay.
I'll give you two.
Ooh, not just one. He's giving us two Money Mike plays. And I might just point that. I don't know if I like that nickname. Totally,
yeah, we got to change that. I don't like that.
I don't know what else to tell you.
I mentioned Bogdanovich earlier. He's really growing on me at 4,800. He's just a guy I expect to be low owned. Like I mentioned, we just don't have a ton of value. Yeah, we just don't have a ton of value on this slate, and I expect him just to chip in a solid close to 30 DK points at 4,800. So I do like that play. And then if I had to pick one more, I'd probably go Gordon Hayward, 7,200 against Dallas. That's just fantastic. He should be looking at 40 DK points, pretty much just locked in.
I like it. And for me, if I had one around that Bogdanovich price tag, I think you said 49. I'm going to go back to the well. If Jimmy Butler doesn't play, I think Tyler Hero is for 54 is just awesome value for me. He might get you that 25 DK or points alone, not just DK points, actual points. So I really like him there. If Jimmy Butler doesn't play, that's where I'm going to lean. Even if Jimmy Butler does play, I still will have my fair shares of him, just a little bit less.
Fair enough.
All right, man. So thank you guys for joining us again on another edition of Hoopball DFS today. This was your December 30th podcast, and we are almost done with the year that was 2020. I will not get started on it, but I hope 2021 is better. I honestly don't think they could get worse than what
you had to say.
Deal with. But,
you don't say that. That's like the number one rule, man. You never say that.
Well, I already did, and I think many of people said that. But let's get out of here and hope we have a good night in the DFS community. Thank you guys for joining us, and you can follow me on Twitter at Santino Cocone, and you can follow Mike on Twitter at Micapatria. Yeah, we are very bland. We don't have any cool names for you, just our actual names with the @ sign in front of it. It shouldn't be too hard to find, but you can also find us on our Discord at Santino Cocone on my Discord, and you can find Mike at Discord at Micapatria. So again, we're pretty bland with our names here. Maybe we have to come up with some cool nicknames, buddy.
Yeah, it's not going to go well after we just had the what was it, what did you say, Money Mike or something?
Money Mike.
Yeah, we're not going to. The nicknames aren't going well. So if you guys have any, shoot them at us. We need a couple.
Money Mike, he throws pennies at you, not dollars. All right, let's get out of here before we go too crazy. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will catch you again tomorrow. I believe it's you and Dave should be on here tomorrow, if I'm correct.
Absolutely, gonna crush with my main man Dave.
All right, good one. And I think that's a 7-game slate, so that's another solid slate on our decks. So good night, guys. We'll catch you again tomorrow.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.
Our biggest storage event just got stronger. The Store More, Save More event going on now at the Home Depot. Get the exclusive 77-inch Husky welded I-beam steel shelving for just $179. It now holds up to 10,000 pounds. Plus, it's the only steel shelving with a full lifetime warranty. Find more Husky steel shelving online at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. Limited time only. Event and dates vary by store. Claim based on 2,500 pounds per shelf when evenly distributed. See store for details.